Slashing through hordes of demons, freelancing for clandestine brotherhoods, perturbing pretentious angels, and enough evil bovine to open up your own Hell's Kitchen. There's a lot to love about the Diablo franchise. Whether you're a casual enjoyer or an average fan, there's much to be said about the daddy of dungeon crawlers. Today, I'm going to focus on the Diablo franchise, why it's legendary, and why the modern era seems to be stuck in hell. So settle in, get comfortable, and
Listen!
I have been a Diablo fan for a long time. I grew up braving the depths beneath Tristram. I spent far too many days, farming Baal and Mephisto. I relished every arrogant line of dialogue from Zoltan Kuhl.
Some would say that animating a constructed body with preserved memories is not truly coming back to life. I say those fools don't understand the sheer wonder of being Zoltan Kuhl.
And I was even hitting the feels at the loss of that condescending old fart, Deckard Cain. So, I was super psyched for Diablo 4 to come out last year. But, as many of you know, the launch of Diablo 4 was, to put it nicely, a steaming turd. Was this the end of my journey? Was the franchise finally dead? Or was there more than meets the eye going on? Let's find out. While I have a fondness for the original 1997 title, the Diablo franchise truly made its mark on mainstream gaming with the release of Diablo 2. The second entry had a dark and edgy atmosphere, it included what were at the time huge world maps, and it nailed the sweet spot on animated violence that let the game feel brutal without seeming over the top and pulling you out of the experience. Add to that Diablo 2 was one of the first games with a free online multiplayer, including both a player versus environment and a player versus player mode, and it's no wonder that over 4 million copies were sold way back in the year of our Lord, 2000. Thus cementing the game as one of the greatest releases of all time. The following year, Lord of Destruction came out to rave reviews, adding an entire post-game story act, new classes to replay the game with, and more loot and crafting for players to mix into game-breaking builds. It seemed like Blizzard could do no wrong, and fans eagerly awaited a sequel to the smashing success. Unfortunately for fans, a sequel would not be coming anytime soon. 12 years passed while fans speculated if and when a follow-up game would materialize. Finally, after more than a decade of waiting, Blizzard released Diablo 3 in 2012. The highly awaited game sold more than 3.5 million copies within the first 24 hours, over 12 million copies in its first year, and over 30 million copies sold today. Much like its predecessor, Diablo 3 had multiple classes to pick from, expansive world maps, and returning fan-favorite characters with whom you were able to fight through the hordes of hell. But not all was well in the world of Sanctuary. Players quickly discovered that Blizzard's newest release had some questionable mechanics, such as boss fights with hidden timers that would fill the room with either poison or fire if the fight lasted, quote, too long, forcing users to either double down on tanky builds that could withstand the unexpected onslaught of elemental damage, or to use glass cannon builds that players may not be comfortable with or simply didn't find fun. The use of a real money auction house within the game led to a massive divide between players who were pay to win and those who weren't and had to farm the game's terrible drop rates to progress through the campaign. And all of that was for those lucky enough to be able to log into the game, as Blizzard's infamous Battle.net Error 37, "The servers are busy at this time, please try again later," quickly became the source of many fans' ire. Complaints of corporate greed and the rise in popularity of Diablo clones such as Torchlight were showing that the once indomitable Blizzard was losing its most precious commodity, the trust of its players. Fortunately, the team at Activision Blizzard actually took notice and provided a huge quality of life change with the release of Diablo 3's Reaper of Souls expansion. There were major improvements in loot drops, the ability to alter attributes on existing gear, the removal of the real money auction house, and a new class to play through in-game content with. These changes were praised by the community, and an uneasy peace once more prevailed between the company and its players. Thus, we arrive at June of 2023, where optimistic gamers, myself included, awaited the release of the newest installment of the series, Diablo 4. Unfortunately, instead of meeting the Lord of Terror, we were met with our greatest fear. The game was an unfinished, buggy mess. To start things off, the login issues had returned, and with a vengeance. There were also issues with the character skills not activating. The experience scaling was horrendously miscalculated, making it a slog to reach any decent level. A lack of gold meant expanding your inventory stash or purchasing new gear was nearly impossible, and the loot drops were scarce, with 99% of what dropped being garbage. On top of which, Blizzard seemingly decided to mock players by revealing that there were uber unique items in the game, but that the drop rates were something akin to 1 in 8 million. Furthermore, players were not able to trade items of legendary or higher quality with other members, and would have an extremely reduced experience gain if the party were slaying monsters more than 9 levels away from your character's level. A baffling misstep for a company trying to encourage people to sell their friends on playing a game with them, especially one with a level cap of 100. For the brave souls who managed to persevere through the torrid conditions of the game's release, upon reaching its conclusion, they were met with another confounding choice from the developers. Diablo 4 did not contain an appearance from Diablo. That's right. For the first time in the franchise's history, the titular character does not appear in the game. But do not despair, all who have listened here. There is still hope that, as with Diablo 3, the modern era of Diablo might yet right its course. In Season 3, changes were made to improve experience gain, and rewards from the Tree of Whispers were loaded with gold to alleviate the stress of crafting gems, potions, expanding inventory pages, and re-rolling affixes. Season 4 has delivered even more quality of life improvements by enabling the trading of all equipment, creating near-permanent hell tides, having boss summoning materials drop from goblins and caches, and, best of all, archiving players' item aspects for repeated use. While only time will tell, and after the concerning news of massive layoffs to the development team, I remain foolishly optimistic that one day we will find a path through the realm of corporate greed and past the hellish flame wars of toxic fans. And as Tyrael said, on that day,
we shall stand together, angels and men, in the light of this glorious new dawn.
Do you think that Diablo will become a heavenly experience to play, or will it be relegated to gamer hell? Let me know your thoughts down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.